Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Talking City podcast. Funnily enough, that we are recording just after 7 o'clock. I am Christian. I'm joined by the wonderful Troy. How are you, mate?
G'day, mate. Good to be back on the podcast. What an absolute piss take that was Saturday night, eh?
It was beautiful. And we also have the great Rennie. How are you, mate?
Oh, mate, I can't be. I'm in seventh heaven at the moment. The only way this could have been made better is if we'd started at 7:06.
Absolutely. Well, just any 7 puns you boys think of, roll them out. The more the merrier. Well, let's get into the game. I mean, we honestly couldn't ask for anything better, could we? That was just a dream as Melbourne City fans, and something that, you know, you'd love to see every time we play them, but, you know, 7-0 scorelines don't happen every day. So, obviously it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Mate, look, I never thought I'd say the day we'd beat them 6-0. To then follow up the very next time we played them with 7-0 is the stuff of dreams for a Melbourne City fan. Full disclosure from my end, did not get to see all of it, unfortunately. I was out at a close friend's going away party who selfishly leaving me and selfishly decided to have his party on Saturday night, but was in the presence of his brother, who's a Melbourne Victory supporter, and was more than happy to show him the score throughout the match. The best part for me was flicking on about the 82nd minute mark before we went bang, bang, bang. And by the time the 7th goal had gone in, he actually thought I was just taking the piss at that stage when I had to actually physically show him that we'd just scored 3 goals in 3 minutes and the score was 7-0. So, look, great performance, obviously, and great results. They're in a bit of a shambolic state, and long may that continue. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and to be able to do that twice this season and put 13 past them across 2 games is absolutely fantastic, and something that they'll I'm sure will never actually be able to live down.
I honestly couldn't. I'm in the same boat. Like 6-0 was a dream come true, to be honest. And then you would have thought they'd come back, and I actually didn't think. I thought we would beat them, but not by that much. Maybe a 2-1 or a 3-1, because you would have thought they might have come out with a bit more backbone and want to, you know, almost defend their honour, if that makes sense. So it was just. I still can't believe it. You had to, if you blinked in that 3-minute period, you would have missed 3 goals. Yeah.
Sorry.
I suppose you got to put the caveat, kind of. We still would have beaten them pretty comfortably, but the red card for them wouldn't have helped them at all, considering they're useless with 11 on the field, let alone with 10.
Yeah, I reckon it just happened to be probably their best defender that got that red card too, which would have aided us a lot. But look, no arguments about whether that was a red. He pretty much went studs first into, I can't remember who it was, thigh. But
you could argue his behaviour after the. I mean, even if the tackle was a yellow, like his physical demonstration with the referee was appalling. You know,
that might have sealed the deal in that regard. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, regardless of who he plays for, I mean, I'd be pretty appalled if one of our own players behaved like that in a situation where a ref was about to give a card. Now, obviously, he's gone to his back pocket, so it was pretty evident it was probably going to be a red. But regardless, mate, that guy's captain and supposed to be leading by example, and probably one of their better players, and to go and behave like that, I guess that just sums up that club, to be honest.
The worst part about it is, hasn't really been talked about. Like, when I first saw it, like, I'd missed it. Like, I blinked. Because I was with the kids, and I looked down and then saw everybody going nuts and him getting the red card. And when I watched the replay, I saw him grabbing the ref's arm, and I'm just like, that's clearly he's going to get done. He's probably going to get longer for that, isn't he? For at least touching the refs, you know. And nothing's been said about it. It's just, it's appalling. You got to have, even though, you know, we have a go at refs and how useless they are at times, but you got to have respect for the ref. Like, you wouldn't see that in rugby union or anything like that. Rugby union, it's yes sir, no sir, isn't it?
You wouldn't see the physical remonstration that world football delivers in any other sport, to be brutally honest. And I think I've said it on this podcast previously. Not just the A-League, but across the world in most leagues, the way players interact with officials is pretty poor. There's a lot of physical remonstration and touching and demonstrative behaviour. And I hate that terminology, demonstrative, because players are going to get frustrated. But I think it's pretty poor across the sport, and that was a prime example of it on Saturday night.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. Yeah, it's a tough job. Obviously, you would have thought, being a ref, and I'm not sure what he was thinking, as you boys were saying. Right as I think it was Beef that was drawing the red out of his back pocket, he's literally Traore trying to bat, his arm away to stop him doing it. Like it's
It's going to make a difference.
It's going to take a. I was going to say, like, did he think if he whacked his arm away, go, oh no, sorry, mate, I'll put it back. Sorry, my bad.
I don't know what he was thinking.
You know,
Brilliant for us, though.
I half thought maybe, like you said, maybe he was going to just pull a yellow out, and then he touched the arm, and he's gone, well, I'm just going to quickly flick the finger and change it to a red.
Is the red's usually back pocket, yellow's in the front, isn't it? Is that generally how it works, or am I making that up?
Well, that probably makes
I
sense.
reckon I've seen a bit of both, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I know in FIFA, if I'm playing FIFA and I've got a red, if he goes to his back pocket, I know I'm off. Whereas the yellow is usually in the front, but I could be making that up as a general rule.
Well,
Very good. No, sorry, Rennie, what were you going to say, mate?
So I was going to say, we might as well discuss some of the goals. We've got plenty of them to talk about, but the Booze one was just... It was just out of this world. It was out of this world. It's ridiculous. He did admit to it afterwards that he wasn't really aiming for goal. It was more of a cross, which if I was me, I would just shut my mouth because I actually thought he was aiming for goal, to be honest. That was just shock when it went in off the... You couldn't blame... what's his name? Their keeper, Acton, or whatever his name is. You couldn't do anything
Acton,
about that.
yeah.
It was literally the most perfect shot you could possibly make, especially in that position.
It had a bit of... his name escapes me. The derby where we beat them 4-0.
Gigantic.
I went absolutely blank there. Had a bit of that about it, didn't it? I think it probably wasn't an intentional shot, but... I mean, regardless, the skill to still pull something off like that, even if it is accidental, is it's pretty world class. Phenomenal goal. Probably set the tone for the rest of the night.
It probably did because, I thought to start off with, I thought victory in the first probably 5-10 minutes looked like they were going to have a go. Had a couple of, I think McManaman had a shot just miss or was just saved by not Redmayne, Jesus Christ. He doesn't save anything. He didn't save anything for us. Glover.
Saved anything for us.
Glover. But that goal, I think I think it was just all downhill from there.
One of those things, isn't it? When you're the opposition and you see something like that go through, your head can drop pretty quick. I know as a supporter, if you're opposition team that does something that's beyond the realms of possibility at times, you sit there and you go, oh, it's probably not our night, and it can have that flow-on effect throughout a team. Especially
when your team's just is dead bottom of the ladder and can't do anything about it.
And I can't stress that enough, Rennie. They are dead last.
What position are they, Troy? Sorry?
They're dead last. They're dead last. And their last defeat was a 7-0 loss.
Oh, God, it's beautiful. I mean, so many goals you could have picked. And there's one man who had played, obviously, a big part in scoring all of those. That's our lethal striker, Mr. Jamie McLaren. I mean, he's on track for almost raising the bat in terms of a goal tally for us. And he's going mental.
What are we at? 48 out of 50?
It's nearly half century.
49. Yeah, 49 out of 50 it is.
49.
Yeah, so it's literally a goal a game, pretty much.
I mean, he's taken the piss this year, isn't he? He's just racing away with the golden boot. He's been phenomenal since he's joined us. We had and I've saw someone write about this the other day. Despite what happened with Bruno in the end, he gave us plenty of great memories in that time frame he was there and plenty of goals. But McLaren has just gone well and truly past him.
He has.
So consistent. You just know every week that he's more than likely going to find the back of the net. Scoring 5 goals is extreme, but he's been in positions this year to score hat-tricks on a handful of occasions, and he's scored. Has he scored 1 or 2 or 3? How many hat-tricks has he scored this year already?
I think he's only had 1. That's his first one.
Was that only his first one? Maybe that's what I'm getting confused. I think he's been in position to score. He's had multiple braces, but to score 5 and against your arch enemy is the stuff of dreams for someone like Jamie, I'd imagine.
It's funny because I was standing at the start of the game. I said he'll probably end up scoring 2 because he's almost the equivalent to a batsman that constantly gets 99 and gets goes out, and he always gets his double, but just doesn't get not enough hat tricks, but doesn't get more than you probably think he should. But he almost got a double. Wasn't far off at the end, and I love watching him take penalties. He's just I can't remember a player that I have more confidence in penalties than he does, and he doesn't just do the basic ones. He puts them top corner and with a bit of pace too. Oh, he's sorry.
Sorry, Rennie. No, you go, mate.
No, it's all right. I'm pretty much done.
The communication's a little bit off when you're not together doing this.
No, that's all right. No, go ahead. I was pretty much done.
No, sorry, mate. We're just making the point. I mean, the only penalty I think he's missed, when we have had a few that I think of now, but he missed that one in the first derby, of course. But you're right. I was just basically concurring with what you're saying. You generally got some pretty solid confidence behind him when he's taken it from the spot.
Absolutely. He's a beautiful player. Another one we've, I think, come to really sort of see the best of what he's got to offer, certainly, from a super sub point of view. We talk about Kolakowski now in the past, but how about Marco Tilio? Probably not much, was known of him when we got him from Sydney in the pre-season, but we're really starting to see his quality, coming off the bench, and just how quick he is, agile, and set up a goal. I think scoring a goal, he's not far off too. How'd you boys see his game, if you did see it?
He, you can kind of see why Sydney, because I did hear a lot of Sydney were pretty shattered, weren't happy to lose him, and you can see why. He just had a hand in everything once he got on. The only sad thing for him is that's the best that's probably the best he's going to get off the bench doing those roles, because really, who he won't replace Naboo unless he gets injured. Probably the only one I'd say is maybe Noon, but he's been great off the bench. Like you almost think that when your bench players come on, the other team will go, you might get a bit of a breather because you're not getting the same quality, but you can't say that with Tilio. He's pretty much he had 2 assists, a penalty as well. He won a penalty. That's 3 pretty much goal opportunities for us. And he's done that in the last 3 weeks. Last 3 games, sorry, not 3 weeks.
I think having someone like him is what separates us from previous years in terms of being genuine title, premiership contenders, or whatever you want to call it. We've had a reasonably good starting 11, but our bench players haven't been that good. Being able to have someone like him, and you're right, he's not going to take a starting spot of Naboo or Noon at this point, but at least if one of them was to miss a game or was to go down, he can come on and he can have an impact, and he has done, 3 or 4 weeks in a row now.
He's going beautifully. And I think even if Kolakowski and Tilio are sort of your super subs to even bring on, even when we're winning, just to bring them on to give them the experience just of the minutes, I'm all for that, because I still think as good as what they've shown so far, they're probably still quite, raw. And we probably need the guidance of like your Naboo and Noon, not just to watch, on match day going nuts on the wings, but probably, in training as well. I'd imagine that Noon and Naboo teach them a fair bit. So if we can re-sign Naboo and Noon, because I think their contracts, might be coming towards the end, we can re-sign both of them so that Tilio and Kolakowski can learn more often, then I reckon that's probably the best option, for everyone probably at this point, team and, both of them.
Tell you what, if we haven't had a better chance to win the league than this year. Like you think of the bench, and that's minus Atkinson too. Like you've got Gruccio.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Gruccio was pretty stiff to go to the bench, but with Jamo, that's going to happen. But then you've got O'Neill, who's just come back, which gives us, gives Griffith an opportunity. He's got that versatility going back. So you've effectively got a class of midfielder on the bench, and you've got one that can play at centre back already on the pitch as well as Tilio and Kolakowski, and then you've got Gruccio, and then you've got Sabaki, who's really not even getting a look in.
No, yeah, it's a really, I think you mentioned about 7 great players there, Rennie, that could just roll out 7 puns, boys. We haven't done it enough. But yeah, that's such a great, thing for us to have, you know, a relatively clean bill of health. And the call you made just there, Rennie, you know, not having a better chance than this season, you know, to potentially go all the way, you know, it's really looking good for us. Troy, how do you see it, sort of see us from a depth point of view, mate? What do you reckon about that?
As I said before, mate, like we're in a position now that we haven't been ever, either across Hard or City days. You know, we've as City, we've had reasonably good, as I said, starting 11s. But if we were to lose a couple of players, there wasn't much coming through. Now we've got so much coverage across the park, and particularly up front. You know, we're on top. We've got a game in hand. Another 10 or so games left. There's a long way to go, absolutely. But you know, that front three is just about as good as any as I've seen in the A-League, I think. And people will argue that, and that's all good and fun. But just looking at the table now, you know, a goal difference of 20. The next best is 7. And the Melbourne Victory's goal difference is 27. So
minus 27.
Minus 27. Sorry, minus 27. So I gave them a little bit too much credit there. So I mean that's a fair indicator of where we're at from an attacking front, and defensively too. We've been very strong throughout the best part of the year since the first handful of games where we got off to a bit of a shaky start and we were conceding for fun. But since that Perth game at home, I think it was back in February, Jan, whenever it was, we've been pretty tight there as well.
You said there was a goal difference for us is 20 and the next is 7.
7 was the number, Rennie.
Yep. So
7 the number?
7.
Yeah,
okay.
7.
Yep, good.
So on top of that, you think about it, that's 13 goals difference. So thank you, Melbourne Victory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's what I was looking at as well. I'm like, that adds up to 13.
We have a goal difference of Melbourne Victory.
How do you think they're going right now? Like, they have shit on us for years, being the little brother who gets we got no supporters and we got no titles, and look, we still don't have a title, and that's all well and good, but hopefully that'll change. But geez, it's a big turning point in our rivalry with this club.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk, you know, I think amongst certainly the commentators or some of the pundits, you know, post game, that is the tide turning, you know, are we suddenly becoming the big brother, you know, as it were? I reckon I'd be right in saying that we, even though it was our home game, you know, outnumbered them in terms of fans on the weekend. Like,
I mean, even with that, our crowd was bigger than theirs at a stadium that's, you know, twice as big as Amy Park. So that's the other thing with them too. The drop off from their supporters, and granted, crowds across the league aren't brilliant. For varying
for a
reasons.
fan base like theirs that hangs so much shit on the rest of the comp about fans,
have spent their entire history talking about supporter bases and numbers from other clubs and where this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And to see them, the mass drop off, I mean, percentage wise, and you compare that to us as a fan base. So, yeah, all right, we acknowledge we've never had a huge support and huge crowds, but the variant in drop off when we're good and bad isn't that much different. We've got a pretty rusted on group of supporters. These guys, they have fallen off like flies, and it's great to see.
Well, you look at the Warren Joyce era, right at the end of the Warren Joyce era, we're probably getting about 4,000, maybe. And that's equivalent to what they're getting. Maybe they're probably getting a little bit more, maybe 5 to 6 max. Look at the difference in memberships. Maybe they've got the Hawthorn syndrome where most of their memberships are just pet memberships.
Oh, well, Hawthorn's supporter base is, I mean, not to go too much into that, but I've always thought they've been pretty flexible with the truth when it comes to the numbers of their membership base. But I mean, look, Victory have obviously shown that they've got a large support base when things are going well, but it's all well and good. You got to turn up when you're no good as well, and they're refusing to do that. They are refusing to do that, and
that's all they've known, isn't it, really? Besides maybe this is probably the first year where they were useless, but first year. Then there was the Kuehl era, where they were useless, and this year. So they've really only known pretty much, success. Not success, but a pretty good side for most of their history. They wouldn't know what struggling is.
This is as bad as they would have seen. Not only easy being poor across the season, we've beaten them 13-0 across 2 games. So,
Sorry, Troy, can you repeat that? What was the aggregate score?
13-0 across two games.
Yep, lovely, beautiful.
So, my heart bleeds for them. The supporter base that has done nothing but just demonstrate time and time again how petulant and victimised and just entitled that they believe they are, and long may this continue to this particular club, because they are nothing short of a shambles, and it's very funny to watch.
It's certainly very beautiful. Now, fellas, do we have a man of the match from our wonderful 7? That's right, 7-0 win on Saturday. Troy, do you got a man of the match?
It's hard to go past a bloke who scored 5 goals, I think. Obviously, it was a strong team performance back to front, but yeah, McLaren for me. If you can score 5 goals in any game, you've done a fair job, I think.
Rennie?
I'm trying to think of someone else, to be honest, because you have to give it to McLaren, really. The only thing he didn't do is give us the perfect hat-trick, to be honest. Besides that, I can't think. Besides that, everyone was even on the park. So probably, I'd probably give it to McLaren. Maybe Tillio would be a close second, to be honest.
Yep, he was certainly very good, but I think I'll go McLaren as well. That makes 3 for Jamie. So well done to you, Jamie McLaren, and long may your scoring, not sure if he listens, hopefully he does, but long may your scoring continue for this club, mate, because we're going places with you up front.
I'm sure he listens.
Before we cut off to it, one thing I'm annoyed with, and maybe this is an offside. Maybe I'll leave it for offsides.
Yeah, we'll leave. No worries, mate. We'll leave it for then. So that'll end our first segment, wrapping up the 7. That's right, 7-0 shellacking of the scum from across town. We will come back with a preview of this Saturday's game against MacArthur. And we are back, guys. So that was so much fun talking about the magnificent 7-0 victory on Saturday. Look, mate, I'm not going to stop. And why would you stop? It'd be rude to stop talking about it. But we do, of course, have to focus on an upcoming opponents, being MacArthur, the A-League new boys, who are going okay for, their first season of the comp. I think they sit 4th on the ladder. Not too far behind us, though. We've got, I think, a game in hand on them. Might be about 4 or 5 points ahead.
Two games in hand, actually. They're sitting 5th at the moment. Just having a look at that table with that goal difference of 13.
Oh, it's beautiful.
13!
Anthony Hudson, 13.
Yeah, still remember watching that as a 15-year-old. That was a great call by Hutto. But
were you only 15 when that happened?
I was, 2012, year 9. Still remember those. Mate, I can't help when I was born, Troy. That's something you get angry at me for, but I can't help it, mate.
I don't get angry at you. I get disappointed at myself for aging, to be honest. Having situations arise in my life where I'm starting to realise that I'm not quite as youthful as I once was. Sunday was one of those days when I spent the first half of it back and forth between the toilet bowl and bed, but... just the one end, just the top end. Wasn't a both ends job, just a real sort of hungover number that was. But there we go. You were 15 then. All right, well, I've sidetracked that, so continue on.
We'll say though with MacArthur, you've been saying how they've been okay this season. They've been very inconsistent. Can't get a read of where they're at form wise, and that's the one thing I'm worried about, because they're very unpredictable when it comes to what type of MacArthur's coming out. Even though we beat them pretty comfortably when they came down last time, didn't look like it at all.
Pretty simple 3-0 first half job, wasn't it?
But I don't remember them actually threatening at all.
No, they didn't really. And I think we piled on the 3 in the first half, and shut the gate, or park the bus, whatever term you want to use for the second half, and they still really couldn't get near us. And probably a big part of that, I reckon, we'd completely nullified, I think, their paths towards giving it to, Matt Derbyshire, who's their top scorer, who's got, I think, 11, which is nearly half their total, goal tally for the season. So you stop him, you go a long way to beating MacArthur. And we did that very, very well in that 3-0 in the first meeting we had with them. So do that again. I reckon a good chance of 3 points is coming.
Well, I bloody hope so. I'm going up for that one, so should be fun. But no, I'm always worried, and I think it's just the city, the heart city in me. I go to the negative and worry before I get to the positive, which isn't a great way to be. But I think I follow everything I follow is the same way. So we really have no reason not to come away with 3 points. I think with this one, I'm actually more confident with this than I was with probably Wellington, to be honest. If we can play, it's not going to be anything like the victory game. We're not playing against Sunday League side. They have quality across the park, to be honest, and I still think we'll win. But I don't know where else to go with that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you touched on. Sorry, Troy, you go.
No, I was just going to say, I'm with you, Rennie. I mean, as a City fan, you can never have 100% faith that we're going to turn up and get the job done, just based on historical evidence more than anything.
Exactly.
Look, we're top of the table for a reason. We've been the best team in it for the last 3 months. So, by all right, should we be right with MacArthur? They've been inconsistent. Their win-loss tally sort of demonstrates that. 8 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws. They're pretty even across the board in terms of those sorts of numbers. So, you'd think off the back of what was a 7-0 victory on the weekend, in case anyone missed that in the first segment, we can get up to Sydney and get the job done. But nothing's can't take anything for granted in this league at all.
You certainly can't. And I think as well, pardon me, the great man Brett Trevenant in one of our group chats earlier in the week, we touched on Troy before. I think it was our early season, the shakiness and the form sort of being a bit up and down. I think Brett brought it up in the group chat. Since that Newcastle game away where the performance was not good at all, we've gone 8 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss. So, I mean, if that doesn't give, all City fans, for that matter, some confidence about how we're going to go, I'm not sure what will. I mean, really,
It's amazing when you
say for it. That's just can give you nothing but confidence, I think.
Yeah. It's amazing when you think. I know we're talking about the MacArthur game, but it's amazing to think back at that Newcastle game, how putrid we were, and even the form leading to that was pretty bad as well.
And that was sort of what I was touching on before. We lost to Perth at home 3-1. And that game was one of those that could have gone either way from memory. I think we were probably unlucky that a couple didn't go in, and they had a couple come off the post and go in. But we had the Mariners after that where we blew did we blow a 2-0 lead in that one?
We did. Yep. I think we had a red card that game.
Yeah, and another red, which we've had a number of in the start of the season, and then the Jets game.
That's right. Well, that to be 8-1-1 since that Jets game, it's obviously a credit to the boys for the way they've turned things around. And boys, do we have any scores and scorers for the MacArthur match? How we see this one?
Before we do, I reckon there's probably one person I have a little bit of a concern with for them would be Federici. If we have one of those nights where we have a number of chances and then take them, I can't see him not having a game where he makes a couple of corking saves. But in saying that, sorry I've cut in, I reckon we'll win 3-1. I probably think, you'd say McLaren with a couple. And I'm going to go with Metcalf to score the other.
I think off the back of that, Rennie, we have a lot of games where we don't take all their chances. And I said this when I was on SCN the other week, we're going to, I was going to say we're going to tear a team apart. We did it 3 or 4 days ago, and we've done it against that same team twice. But there's going to be a lot more teams that are going to face the wrath of that if we get it together. When I say get it together, if we take the opportunities as arise, because who was it the other week that we played? It would have been the Wellington game. Well, we could have won. We could have won that 6, 7, 8 to 1 or 2, whatever it was. It was just nuts. Sorry, Manny.
Sorry, I cut you off. And then you add the Western United game where we had all amazing amount of chances to finish that off at half time and didn't take them.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're the ones that you regret at the end of the day when you don't get the points. But I think from a goal scoring perspective, well, you just have to put McLaren in for at least one, probably two. So let's go 3-0. I reckon we can back up another clean sheet. 3-0, 2 to McLaren and Noon to get back on the score sheet.
Very good, positive all round. I'll continue that trend. I think we're going to win 2-0. It's going to be probably a bit of a fight because MacArthur, as we know, on their day, are, proven to be quite, a good team. There's plenty of talent there, with Benya, ex-City player John Rowe, and obviously Derbyshire up front. So they're going to test us, but I reckon we're good enough to get a 2-0 win with a towering header from Curtis Good from a corner. And maybe Naboo. I think J-Mac can maybe do the week off scoring. And, if we're still scoring multiple goals and him not contributing in that sense, that's nothing but a good thing as well. So,
tell you what, Griffith won't be scoring anytime soon. He keeps missing absolute sitters the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, seems to get up for a lot of headers and just can't quite, get him on target. But, we love Roston. He does a job in many other areas with keeping that midfield and defence, so stable. So
I'll take a miss here or there. I'll take a miss here or there for everything else he does in the midfield and in defence.
100%.
Let's be honest. Yeah. The one header he's absolutely nailed this year was at Marvel Stadium when we won 6-0. So
yes, of course, that was another brilliant night, and then there was the 7-0 last week.
We had a 7-0 win recently.
I almost forgot about that one.
This is a brilliant podcast. Oh, fantastic. Now, what we'll do is head off for a final break and we'll come back with everyone's favourite segment, Myths and Moments. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final segment, the wonderful, the great, the very funny Myths and Moments. Gents, who's doing the mosquito noise?
I'm at a desk, so maybe I can do it. Give it a go. All right.
Off you go, Rennie. Very good. Good
I'm
sound.
disappointed that in my time between podcasts, we haven't found an actual mosquito sound effect for this. I appreciate the organic nature of it. I just thought, technologically, I thought we might be a little bit more advanced by now as a group, but that's okay. That's okay. That will come. I guess not all of us.
Look, Troy, you can mention that with our Lord leader, Matthew Benici.
Leader. No, well, yes. He's too far gone now, mate.
He's too big in corporate now.
Last time I heard, I actually believe he is running SEN. He's not just running the Talking City show on a Tuesday night. He's taken Hutchie's job. He's
that's it. No,
running Melbourne City. He's basically working with Sheikh and doing his own thing there. So he's gone, mate. We've lost him.
Speaking of Benici, though, don't you reckon? The first thing I thought of, what's his name? What's that Vicky player's name who got the first pen given against him? What's his name?
Butterfield.
Doesn't Matty Benici? I thought it was Benici on the ground at one stage, as the beard and the man bun going on.
Off the top of my head, that's the only two similarities I reckon those two might have. But
he'll hate the fact that you're saying he looks like a Victory player, but. You can definitely see where you're sort of heading with it. Long hair and the beard.
It's either that or, like I said, like last time, shit Ramos.
Now, Troy, you touched on, Matty B. This is nowhere near related, obviously, to Myths and Moments, but doesn't matter. You touched on, him taking over SEN, being the big dog and everything. I drive past where our new facility is going to be every day just before I head to work, and I've seen the Benici statue. It's coming together for our new facility. So
it is.
He's moving up in the world.
It's a golden statue. It's not even bronze. It's just made of pure gold, which he's funded himself. This is purely narcissism on his behalf, but he has planted a golden statue of himself outside of the new Casey facilities there. As I said, this is a man who's lost touch with the common person, unfortunately. He was one of us. I used to work with him. He left me, as we know.
For money, was it?
Money, and this is what happened. It's all just the ego has exploded, and we've lost what was a good man, unfortunately, and it's disappointing, but life goes on.
So what happens when you get
It does.
seven-figure wage increase?
Yeah, I heard it was in the millions, probably closer to 10.
Fool. Mr. High Roller. No, we love you, Matty. But boys, any of us have an actual onside or offside? Because we got a bit sidetracked there, which we do on this pod from time to time. But that's okay. Any onsides or offsides? I'll get it out eventually.
I think there's one obvious offside, which everybody's been talking literally about.
You're actually wearing the jumper of one of those clubs, really.
Yeah,
Thought you might have trashed that.
No, can't. The club is not its owners. It's the club is the fans, as everybody knows. And yeah, I'm going to say the clubs. I'm going to say the owners of those 6 clubs need to really pull their heads in a fair bit for the Super League. I just don't know whether
they've all pulled out, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. They have because they're shocked at the fact that everybody's been pissed off about it.
I think they just thought that fans will come if we play it, they'll come and just have. And I hate this saying completely, but they have failed to read the room on that in the most enormous way possible.
The only other thing I could have thought was just a dumb way of doing it is they're not happy with the new. The restructuring of the Champions League, maybe, and they've just said, "Well, you know what? We've been threatening the Super League for quite some time. Let's just do it, and to be serious and go look like we're being serious about it." But it's a stupid way of doing it.
As a supporter of a League One club who'll never see Champions League airtime, what was the restructure going on there?
I think what was happening is there was more teams coming in, which would effectively make it 10 fixtures as opposed to the 6 that they have now. So it would be two extra teams in each group, which would obviously then, increase revenue for UEFA, but wouldn't be increasing it for the other clubs. And I think they've just decided, well, you know what, it's not good enough for us. So we'll.
It's just one of the more appalling things I've seen. I'm not sure what's going to happen with, and when I say that in a sporting context, not sure if we had any word on what the Spanish and Italian teams are doing, or they're just sort of. I mean, they can't go ahead if your 6 English teams are pulling out. I can't see how it can possibly be something that's feasible long term.
No, I think it's in jeopardy because they've all, said no thanks now. So
yeah,
hopefully that becomes official soon.
It honestly made me proud to be a Sunderland supporter for the first time in about 5 years, knowing that that's something that we've made a lot of stupid decisions over the last 4 or 5 years, but that's something that we'd never have an opportunity to do, but I know that we wouldn't. That's just not something that's something.
And Troy, just speaking of Sunderland, mate, I was been an avid sort of looker of the League One table when I get my breaks at work, and I thought you had second spot sewn up.
Any other club in that league, mate,
she's all gone downhill, mate.
We have performed one of the all-time bottle jobs once again. So we sacked Phil Parkinson late last year. The timeline's a bit fuzzy, but it was late last year, and brought in Lee Johnson. And after a bit of a scratchy start, we found ourselves on a bit of a roll. Hadn't lost, I think we only lost one of our last 10 or 15 or something like that, whatever it was. Couple of games in hand, and we've got to the pointy end of the season, and we 3 games in a week last week, and then drew again this morning to Hull, who are currently on top. So any chance of automatic promotion is just about down the drain. I don't think we can fall out of that top 6 for a playoff spot. I mean, mathematically we could, but it would take a fair effort from there. But mate, I got my hopes up, and I don't know why I did. I don't know why. I honestly. I let myself think that, we're as good a position now to claim at least second spot, but no classic Sunderland.
And then the onside, Sunderland till I die. The next season will be pretty interesting from the sense of things.
I hope they've got no cameras in there, mate. Honestly, if there's another season of watching us capitulate, like those 2 documentaries. The second one's the one that gets me more, to be honest with you, because we went to Wembley and we were.
Twice, wasn't
it? Twice. Lost one in penalties, lost the other one in the 93rd minute with 3 minutes of added time.
That's a Portsmouth, wasn't it?
The Portsmouth one was the Checkatrade Trophy. So we won the equivalent of that this year, won the Papa John's Trophy, which is held in high prestige across England.
Papa John's, Papa Roach.
Papa John's trophy, and then but yeah, so it's not been a good few years for Sunderland, but we have got the Papa John's trophy to add to our trophy cabinet now. So I don't know. To me, that sort of puts us in the Big Six bracket, if you ask me.
Well, why wouldn't it, mate? Absolutely.
Well, you know, if teams like Tottenham are in there, far out. I think that should make the thing more laughable than anything. When you've got a team that's made one Champions League final in its history, and yet hasn't won anything really of note in the last 10 years, besides maybe an FA Cup. And then you've got Arsenal, who haven't done anything for God knows how long. Well, the whole thing was laughable to begin with. And fortunate enough, at least for the English clubs, that they've cut themselves out. But I would have hoped that they'd gone the Bayern route and said, no. In fairness with Bayern, though, aren't they like, isn't there a structural thing there with the ownership where I think 49% of it's owned by the supporters or something like that in Germany?
That's a structure you wouldn't mind seeing across the board.
Yeah. So even if they wanted to, I think it would have been knocked pretty quickly on the head at Bayern. But yeah, I think thank God it's over with for us and for the English supporters at least.